Hi guys. So in honor of this week having Valentine's Day, all of my videos are going to be centered around romance in fiction because I am super original. I am taking the week off with some tropes that I hate. And when I was making this list, I thought, I bet I can come up with 10. Turned out I could come up with way more than 10, but I narrowed it down to 10 tropes I hate in romance. As a slight disclaimer, some of these maybe aren't technically considered tropes, but they are situations that come about pretty often in romances, and I hate it. I hate it, and I'm gonna go ahead and start off with one that I think fits that category, and I'm gonna title this Screw the World. This particular trope, if you will, is when the couple says ridiculous nonsense like, I don't care if the rest of the world dies as long as I have you. No, that is crazy. The rest of the world, all the billions of people, you would give up everybody. For me, I am not worth it. Nobody's worth that. If my husband said that to me, I would sit him down and I'd be like, look, there's a lot of girls out there, okay? If I die, you're gonna find one that's prettier and funnier and smarter and you'll like more. There's so many people out there. There's probably somebody that looks very similar to me too, so you can even be a weirdo and just find a copycat of me. I mean, there's so many people. How on earth? I hate it. I hate it when couples in books say that kind of crazy talk. The next thing I don't care for, and I feel like a terrible person saying this, but it's there's no reason to love this plain Jane, but the hunky man's gonna love her anyway. Sometimes I think authors are like, you know what? When I was young, I thought it was ugly. I thought I was bad at everything. I didn't know how to talk to people I was attracted to, and I was clumsy. And they make a weirdo. They like hosh posh of just nonsense of a person, and then somehow the most gorgeous person who's also the most charming and charismatic falls for them. You don't stay like your weird 13-year-old self forever. You become a grown-up, you mature, you change, you develop. And I don't like this idea that, oh, you can just stay at this phase, the most awkward phase of your life, until your young adult years, and it won't matter because the most perfect specimen will fall in love with you. The next trope I hate, I hate this trope. This might be my most hated trope in fiction. As soon as I get a whiff of it, I'm like, seriously? And that would be, I love you, but feelings are bad. This is basically where somebody, usually the protagonist, has experienced something really awful in their life, or they haven't had a close relationship with somebody before. Something has happened where they have decided, I need to be stoic and not have any feelings ever. That's the decision they've come to based off of their past. And then they meet somebody and they're starting to fall in love with this person. And then they're starting to let themselves fall in love, and the other person is happy because they love them too. And then the person's like, wait, what if they die? That would make me sad, and I can't be sad ever. I'll just be really bad at communicating with them, and I'll be standoffish. Or just use your words. Use your words. You're not a 2-year-old. That's what my sister would have to tell my nieces. She would be like, use your words when they were whining or just making weird noises. She'd be like, use your words. That's it. That's all the protagonist has to do. They just gotta use their words. They just gotta be like, look, I went through some stuff and I'm scared. I'm scared. I don't know what to do. I don't know if I can handle it. That's it. That's all they have to do. But instead, that's never what they do. All they do is they're like, I'm fine. Why? Why? Because you were making out with them 3 pages ago and it's the next day and suddenly you're acting like they have the plague. I think the reason I hate that trope so much is because it's like a combination of what it is with the miscommunication trope, which is the next trope that I hate. The miscommunication trope, I think nobody likes, when everything could be resolved if the 2 characters would just talk. You know, that thing you learned how to do when you were a baby. I hate the idea of those, like somebody happens to look out the window and they see their significant other in the story talking to somebody that they're like, who is that person? Oh, is that their secret lover? And then they leave them and their children are now devastated, and there's this, like, the whole story is based off of them making assumptions, and that is just so frustrating. The next trope that I'm not a fan of actually is a trope that most people like, and I sort of like it, but it can be done in a way that I hate, and that would be the hate to love. And I know most of us like that trope, and I do too, to an extent. I like it when it's 2 people meet and they're like, oh, that jerk, and the guy's like, that B word. I'm sorry, I couldn't think of like a girl specific. It doesn't, I mean, they don't have to be straight. There's that chemistry initially, which eventually turns into maybe they're not so bad. And then it turns into like, I'm constantly thinking about them. We all like that. But what I don't understand why anybody likes is when it's like, I'm gonna burn down this chick's entire village, and in like 100 pages, we're gonna be making out. How is that a thing? It's this rushed, basically insta-love that happens despite one of the people being the catalyst for everything bad happening in that character's life. I mentioned insta-love a second ago, so I'm just gonna go ahead and say I'm not a fan of insta-love. It can be done in a way where I'm like, oh, okay. But I don't like it when you have hundreds of pages to tell a story, and sometimes you have a series. The characters don't gotta get together right away. The next trope I don't care for. Again, I don't know if you can even call this a trope, but it's just stuff that happens, and that would be a poor representation of intimacy. And this is pretty encompassing of so many various things, but I'm not a fan of, hey, this person is touching me all the time and they're so hunky, so it's love. That's not love. That's not love. That's just not being able to keep your lust in check. We've all seen, no offense to middle schoolers, but we've all seen those middle school couples that are all over each other and you're just like, ugh, like that's gross to look at because you're like, you're babies, what do you do? And you're just so off put by it. And I feel like in books sometimes you have characters that are adults, but it's basically that, where it's just, oh, they always want to make out. They always want to make out, and they always want to like put each other against the wall and just be caught up in their love for one another. It's like, that's not love. You guys are just, you don't even have conversations. You never even chat. Do you want to ask the other person how their day was? How are they feeling? The world's basically ending, so how do you feel about that? The next trope I don't like is they're hot, so everything they do is totally fine. Everything hot people do is not totally fine. Some things hot people do are terrible, and I wish books would address this sometimes a little bit more. This can go many directions. There are times in stories where the chick is awful, she's the worst, but she's hot, so it doesn't matter, and she is still the thing that the guy wants to have more than anything else in the world. It goes the opposite direction too. Sometimes the guy is unbearable, but he's a hunksicle, so it's okay that those big strong arms were used to ruthlessly beat somebody who didn't deserve it. The next trope I do not care for is the extremely passive love interest. And this is just when you have a love interest. I mean, the name of it is self-explanatory. They're really passive. They don't provide anything to their relationship. They don't provide anything to mankind. They're just bleh. They're just there to be the person that the character is with. There's no purpose for them. Get a personality. Everybody should have one. Sometimes these characters have a personality. Sometimes their personality is everything my love interest does is perfect. There's no wrong that can be done by this other person that you're living with and you share meals together with and you travel with and should sometimes get under your skin. Really, there's nothing that person can say or do that's wrong. No. Sometimes human beings frustrate you. It's a thing. Next one I don't care for is ownership. There's not much to say about it. I don't think it's ever sexy for characters to be like, I own you. Maybe I'm just a little sassy and it's just got too many people in my life pushing me up. But if my husband said like, you're mine, I own you, I'd be like, excuse me. I feel like that this particular trope also a tad bit goes hand in hand. Maybe they're just separate tropes, but I feel like it kind of goes hand in hand with the mate or magical bond or fate kind of trope where they're destined to be together. And I don't like when consent is taken out of the equation. I'm not a fan of that. I feel like people should always be their own individuals and they should have a say. I don't like when they don't have a say. Anyway, that's it for a bunch of tropes I don't like in romance. Let me know what some of your least favorite tropes in romance are. Tomorrow, I'm gonna be talking about some tropes I like. But yeah, let me know. Let me know about the stuff that you hate. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you all later. Bye.